From pointless inclusions to unnecessary cameos, here are some of the MCU's most confusing post-credit scenes. Starting off with a head-scratcher. Tony Stark tries to recruit General Ross into the Avengers Initiative. At the end of The Incredible Hulk, we see Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, stroll into a bar to meet the intoxicated General Ross, casually dropping the bombshell, "What if I told you we were putting a team together?"
Smell of stale beer and defeat. You know, I hate to say I told you so, General, but that super soldier program was put on ice for a reason. I've always felt that hardware was much more reliable.
Now, this scene was supposed to set the stage for the Avengers crossover event, but it leaves us scratching our heads. Who the heck is Stark trying to recruit? It's definitely not Ross, who just proved he can't control the Hulk, and it's not Banner either. So what's going on? The only logical explanation is that Stark is trying to add Emil Blonsky, the Abomination, to the team. But let's be real, that's a terrible choice. Plus, why is Stark doing the recruiting anyway? He's not even an Avenger yet. Thankfully, Marvel Studios realized this scene made no sense, and released a one-shot called The Consultant to explain it all away. Turns out that S.H.I.E.L.D. wanted Blonsky on the team, but Agent Coulson knew it was a bad idea. So he sent in Stark, knowing Ross would refuse to work with him. Classic Coulson move. So there you have it, folks. The mystery of the drunken meeting between Stark and Ross has been solved. But hey, at least we got to see RDJ in action again, right? Moving on to a scene that doesn't have much of an explanation though. There's Thanos' iconic quote.
"Oh yeah. You're much more of a Thanos."
I take it to Mars, Dad. This day extracts a heavy toll.
The mid-credit scene of The Avengers introduces the ominous villain, Thanos, and the post-credit scene from Avengers Age of Ultron sets him on his quest for the Infinity Stones. In the scene, Thanos walks down a futuristic hallway, puts on an empty Infinity Gauntlet, and menacingly declares, "Fine, I'll do it myself." Despite only saying 5 words, Thanos raises a lot of puzzling questions. Why is this scene shown now? Does it mean that the events of Age of Ultron were yet another scheme by Thanos to gather the stones? If so, did he really plan for Loki to lose the Mind Stone and for Tony Stark's robot to go haywire? That seems like a stretch. Furthermore, the scene contradicts its sequels Infinity War and Endgame. Thanos decides to sit back and relax until Nebula and Gamora reveal the location of the Soul Stone years later. Additionally, it's unclear how Thanos already has the Infinity Gauntlet. Thor's trip to Nidavellir suggests that the glove had only just been created, but apparently Thanos has had it all along.
Are you mocking me? Are you mocking me? Stop it, you just didn't do it again. He's trying to copy me. Just stop it.
Enough!
He's doing it first.
We need to stop Thanos, which means we need to find out where he's going next.
No,
And what about Atri, the dwarf who made the gauntlet? Has he been hanging out in the dark for all these years? It's safe to say that Thanos' enigmatic post-credit scene left fans with more questions than answers. But one thing's for sure, the Mad Titan's impact on the MCU is undeniable. Speaking of the Infinity Gauntlet, the Asgardians leaving the Ether with the Collector also makes no sense. After defeating Malekith and sealing away the Ether, Sif and Volstagg deliver the Infinity Stone to none other than the Collector, Tanelir Tiwan. Why? Well, as Volstagg says, it's not a good idea to keep 2 Infinity Stones close together. But let's be real, this decision is as questionable as Groot's vocabulary. I mean, come on, he's literally called the Collector. It's like giving your car keys to someone called Car Key Stealer. Of course, he's gonna go after the other stones. This guy collects everything, from weird alien creatures to Howard the Duck. And when he ominously declares 1 down 5 to go, you can't help but wonder what Sif and Volstagg were thinking. But hey, without this scene, we wouldn't have been introduced to the Collector or the concept of the Infinity Stones, so we'll let it slide. Just don't ask me to trust the judgment of Asgardian warriors when it comes to strategic decision-making. Speaking of bad decisions, Spider-Man's holographic display also comes to mind. The post-credit scene of Captain America Civil War features our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man tinkering with his new web-slinging gadgetry in his bedroom. Our young hero is impressed when he discovers that his web shooters can project a holographic display display of all the cool features in his suit onto his ceiling. But seriously, why would he need that? Now, comic book fans might recognize this feature as a nod to the spider signal, a seldom used tool in Spider-Man's arsenal that even hardcore fans can agree is pretty ridiculous. But here's the kicker. Why would Tony Stark include such a flashy and attention-grabbing function in a suit that already has a built-in AI assistant to streamline its use? It's like putting a spoiler on a rocket ship. Unnecessary and possibly even dangerous. On the topic of unnecessary inclusions, who can forget Howard the Duck? In the post-credit scene of Guardians of the Galaxy, this sentient Birdman hybrid makes a surprise appearance in Tivan's collection, which is basically a nod to the first ever Marvel movie. But the situation's kinda worrying when you think about it. Howard has been shown to be a smart and heroic creature who wouldn't appreciate being held captive. Yet, when he gets the chance to break free from the collector's collection, he just sits around, sips his drink, and makes jokes.
What do you let it lick you like that for? Gross.
He's acting as though being imprisoned is no big deal, which is pretty strange behavior for a sentient being with hopes, dreams, and aspirations. Also, let's not forget that the scene starts with the Collector getting his face licked by one of the most powerful psychics in the Marvel Universe. That's a whole different level of weirdness altogether. Moving on, however, the weirdness intensifies when Wong, Shang, and Katie study the rings. In the final moments of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, we're treated to a flurry of famous faces popping up on the screen. Wong drops by for a drink and invites our heroes to join the Avengers Kamar-Taj squad, which is all well and good, but it's the mid-credit scene that's a real head-scratcher. Wong and his super friends analyze the 10 rings and discover they're broadcasting some kind of cosmic signal that not even Captain Marvel's aware of. So, is this leading up to a big cosmic showdown in the MCU? Who knows? But the real kicker is Bruce Banner's cameo. He's back to being human, even though the last time we saw him he had achieved some kind of inner balance with the Hulk. It's like he went through a whole new crisis off-screen. It's a lot to throw at us after we just met a brand new hero. But that's not the only new character we get thrown at us, as Stan Lee getting chummy with the Watchers is also confusing enough to cap off this list. The Legend of the Comic scene makes a cameo at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, giving a hilarious nod to a long-standing fan theory that he's been playing a Watcher in every Marvel film. However, it also raises some eyebrow-raising questions. Firstly, Lee's character mentions his job as a Federal Express man, which is a reference to his cameo in Captain America Civil War, a film set 2 years after this one. Does this mean that Stan Lee is a time-traveling Watcher informant? To make matters even more confusing, the last of the film's 5 post-credit scenes adds another layer to the mystery of Lee's character. As the Watchers abandon him on a random moon, leaving him stranded, he pleads, "You were supposed to be my lift home. How will I get out of here?" So, are the Watchers in the habit of using informants and then ditching them in the far reaches of space and time? It's a lot of questions to ponder, but one thing is clear. If the Watchers are a bunch of rogue time-traveling sociopaths, who will protect the galaxy from them? But hey, that's all for the most confusing MCU post-credit scenes.